Okay, here we are in chapter 9.1, mapping diagrams, and some of this is new, some of it is old, and it just depends on whether or not you understand what's happening. A lot of times we have what's called an input and an output. And they'll give you kind of a chart. And the input has some numbers, and the output has other numbers. For instance, you might have 0 for the input and 1 for the output, or 1 for the input, 2 for the output, 2 for the output, 2 for the input and 4 for the output. And what happens is the input and the output become this ordered pair, which you are familiar with, and we'll see how to graph them. But there's actually more happening here. So let me paste real quick, see if this works. If I can find out how to move it. There we go. We'll put it here. And then I'll tap over here to see if I can get that to disappear. Okay, there we go. Alright, so this is like graph paper. And we have these little numbers here like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is kind of the 0, 0. That's called the origin. It's at 0, 0. It's called the origin. This is stuff that you should know. It should be kind of review. And there's kind of an x-axis that continues out over here. And these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. This is the x-axis. And these numbers that are vertical are the y-axis. And believe it or not, the y is also the input, and the x is the output. Sometimes it's called the domain, and the... Oh boy, I just did that backwards. I'm almost tempted to start over. The first number is the x, and that's the input. Make sure that we make sense with this. Sometimes I get going and I'm not even paying attention to what I'm saying. There we go. The x is the first number, and the y is the second number, and that makes sense because it's alphabetical. They're ordered pairs, and we use the x first, the y second. The x is always this horizontal bar, and it's the input, and the y is always the vertical line, and it's an output. It's also called the domain, down here, the x, and the range, here the y, but we're not going to worry about that right now because I think I've already tried to confuse you enough. We have an input and an output, and sometimes I like to think about it as like a little machine. We call it the function machine. We're going to talk more about functions in a minute. And you put something in the machine and something else comes out. So if we put in a 0, out comes a 1. If we put in a 1, out comes a 2. And if we put in a 2, out comes a 4. So it goes through the machine in this direction and comes out, and it gets changed. And sometimes we have to figure out what the rule is. The 0, I don't think I can find that green again. The 0 goes through the machine and comes out a 1. The 2 goes through the machine and comes out a 4. And that 1 goes through the machine and comes out a 2. Alright, so all those lines could be possibly confusing. But when we go from 0 to 1, go from 1 to 2, go from 2 to 4, sometimes we look for a rule. And this time we're not going to worry about that, but we are going to graph these. We have 0, 1, which is this point. That's 0, 1. Right there. And then we have 1, 2, which is right here. And then we have 2, 4, which is way up here. Now, a lot of times on a function machine we make a line out of these, but this doesn't create a very nice line. It creates more of a curve. And so we might see this later on in algebra 2 or some other math. But we can still graph them. So this one here is 1, 2, and this one up here is 2, 4. And this is straight out of your book. I'm just kind of showing you how this works because I know that it's been a long time since we've done this. It means this video is going to be a little longer, but Now that we've got that out of the way, I think I can hurry. With these ordered pairs, and we make an input and an output table, they draw these nice little boxes. We got a box here and a box here, and they've got an input box and an output box, input and an output, and they put in, and they want you to kind of map them, they want you to draw them, they also want you to figure out maybe what the pattern is. So let's talk about some patterns. They've got one here that says 1 and 15, 2, 30, 3, 45. And I suppose that if I were to put 4 down here and ask you to figure out what that last one is, you could probably do it because you could see a pattern. There's something happening here that's connecting the 1 to the 15, the 2 to the 30, the 3 to the 45, and the 4 to some number. And if you look here, if we count, we're counting by 1 each time, plus 1, plus 1. But if you look here, what are we counting by? From 15 to 30 is plus 15. And from 30 to 45 is plus 15. So from 45, the next number, if we were to add 15, we would decide that it must be 60, because we're just following that pattern. And that's one of the things that you're having to do. And then you have to sometimes go ahead and turn it into ordered pairs and graph it. This would be 1, 15, 2, 30, 3, 45, and 4, 60. So there's 4 ordered pairs here, and you could graph them. And these ones would make a nice line. We're not going to actually graph these because I don't want to have to draw a graph with 60 spaces on it, but it's something that you'll be able to do, and you'll do it for this assignment. So you just have to understand that we have an input and output. There's something happening that connects these. And every input may or may not go to 1 or 1 output. That's something that we're going to look at. You have to write ordered pairs for different ones. They may, I guess I can show you one more example. They've got 2 groups, the in and the out, and then they have arrows that kind of show, and they've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then in the other box, they just have 0, 2, and 3, and they show you that 0 connects to 2, and 1 connects to 0, and this one you're not going to find a pattern for, and 2 connects to 2 also, and 3, oh, they don't have a 3. I see I added this 3. There's no 3. But 4 connects to 3. So I don't know if I can make it work. Nope. I'm going to erase everything. We'll just leave it alone. Maybe that one. Okay. All right. So those are our connections. And if we could still write ordered pairs, let me go up to here we go. So the first ordered pair would be 0. It's connected to 2. The second one is 1. It's connected to 0. And then 2 is connected to 2. And 4 is connected to 3. And we could still graph them. Let me see if I can find out how to move this, make it a little bigger. Nope, we're not going to try to make it bigger. We're going to just leave it alone. There we go. So 0, 2. Remember, 0 is down here in the corner. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 0, 2 is right here. Remember, the x is first, the y is second, so you always go this way first. This is the x. You go y second. So you go over and then you go up. 1 and 0 is this point right here. That's 1 over and 0 up. And 2, 2 is 2 over and 2 up. And 4, 3 is 4 over and 3 up. So you always go over and up. So over 4, up 3. And that's that point. That's 4, 3. This one is 2, 2. This one is 0, 2. And that one is 1, 0. And we can do this all day long. I think you're starting to see how it works. You've got, you can get graph paper from me, or draw your own, or print some from the computer. As long as you're careful and use a ruler, you can make it work.